have fantastic weather in this country. There is no need to put anything in the dryer unless you live in Cape Town. Cape Town tends to rain quite a bit. So I just hang it over the drying horse. I can't stand hanging up little things like socks and underwear. But alas, right now the only way to do that is through a tumble dryer, probably. Anyway, so what can I talk to you about? I was watching, I don't know how many of you know of Caroline Winkler. She just did a video on, what do you call it? Just about relationships and within relationships, anxiety within relationships. And she was talking about anxiety, attachment disorders. And what she said just rang true for a lot of my relationships and things that I've been through. Just the feeling of, is this person going to stay? Am I good enough? I might not. I think with people, a lot of us, we're just walking through life. We look like we're fine. How many times has someone asked you how you're doing? And you go, I'm fine. How are you? But are you really fine? So follow up the question with, how are you? I'm fine, but how are you really? How are you really doing? Sometimes if you do that and you just look at someone and you go, but you're saying you're fine, but how are you really doing? And then you will uncover that often we're not doing that great. But now coming back to this Caroline Winkler thing about attachment disorders and being in relationships, ever since my very first relationship, I felt that when someone started getting close to me, I wanted to take off. I wanted to run. This is not good. I wasn't sure, is it just red, my subconscious mind telling me, red flag, this person isn't safe? Or was it just my mind messing with me, just out of my fear of intimacy and attaching to anybody, I wasn't sure. Holy cow. I guess I felt, maybe someone's said it to me before, like maybe abandonment issues, the feeling of giving your heart over to someone and, you getting to a place of vulnerability and then them just disappearing, or people seeing your true, being afraid for someone to see who you really are and then not wanting that. I guess that's the feeling, like, how much can I expose to this person? How safe are they for me to say, this is who I am, this is warts and all, and will they run or will they stay, So I think for the majority of my life, even since I was a youngster, I would be anything anyone wanted me to be, so it's an aeroplane going by. If they needed someone who was calm and gentle and quiet, I'd become that person in the relationship just to balance it out. Or if they were a calm and quiet person and they needed me to be more extroverted and upbeat, I'd become that person. And you find after a while, you get tired, and you want to spend more time isolated and on your own, because being around that person is exhausting. And again, because I wore so many masks within my relationships, I found that I didn't really know who I was after a while, because I was really good at being what everybody else needed, I don't know how many of you have had that feeling. Now, coming back to the anxious attachment disorder, or whatever you want to call it. So I was safe when I was being what that person needed, and they were loving me. But after a while, I started getting tired, and then parts of myself started coming out, which I was trying to suppress. And eventually, I would just leave the relationship because I couldn't take it anymore. And I build up resentment because I would be like, why are you changing me? Why do I need to be somebody I'm not for you? Now, don't get me wrong. I would turn up in the relationship myself, and they would start by falling in love with me for who I was. But I was so sensitive to them, and anytime something happened where I could sense they didn't kind of like that, but they didn't say it, but I could see, with, being a very empathetic and sensitive person, that it made them uncomfortable, whether it was me maybe laughing too loudly or speaking my truth or wearing a really bright dress. If I started, noticing that maybe they were finding that whenever we went out to a party or something, that they weren't the center of attention, and that was making them feel bad because I was, happy and talking to everyone, whatever it was, and maybe they would have felt neglected in a party atmosphere. So then when we would be driving home, I'd notice they were down, and then I'd start working out in my brain, going, okay, well, obviously, let me try next time we go to a party, be a little bit more calm and quiet and push them a bit forward, and then see how that goes. And then that they would come back from that party just so happy, But for me, then I felt I had to take away from myself and not be authentic within that atmosphere, just so that my partner could feel their best selves. So it was this situation of always putting somebody else first, always putting their needs above my own. And I think the reason that was because I'd spent so long since a young child turning and being whatever the person needed me to be. I wasn't that strong on who actually am I. It's only as I've gotten older, I think I would never want my 20s and 30s again. It's such a time of discovery, and it's hard. It's heart sore. You get hurt a lot. You don't see the freight train coming. It's a very difficult time. I mean, even teenagehood is difficult, but often you have your parents that are shielding you. So when you're out there as a new adult and you're at varsity or wherever you find yourself, maybe you don't have a great group of friends, or maybe you do have good friends, but again, you're still trying to work out, who am I in the greater scheme of things. So anyway, talking more on my avoidant personality, I can tell you now that it destroyed so many good relationships. I love love. I love looking after people that I love. I love trying to work them out. I love asking questions. I love the authenticity of being close to someone who's vulnerable with you. I need that connection. And so I moved through many relationships because as soon as I got too vulnerable, then I'd be gone, because I would be worried that, we're getting to the point now where they're passing my brick wall, they're getting inside the very soft tissue that will be disastrous if something happens and they don't like what's inside there and they're going to run. So 2 marriages, 3 children. I'm so grateful. Actually. My 2 ex-husbands are amazing people, and I have no regrets. I think my only regret is that I wish that I knew now what I didn't know then, Show up as who you are. present yourself to the person you love as who you are, and take the risk. There is risk. The chances are they might not like what they see. Excuse me. And you know what? That's okay. You know, there's the next person. How many millions of human beings are there out there in this universe, in this earth? There are so many, and you get to try it again and again and again, and eventually you will find somebody. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner. I've always felt that the most important thing in life is to find your tribe. Find your tribe. Find a group of people that are on board with you, that when you are around them, you are able to be 100% authentic. And within that tribe, the chances are you're going to find your person, or they'll be able to introduce you to someone they think you will match with. These dating sites and all of the online things that are happening now, how often do they actually work? I have actually found someone amazing, and we did meet via an online site. But I also was on that online site for many years, and I met some of the most ridiculously strange humans on this planet. I'd have to make a video just on the strangest broken people that I found on online dating. A friend of mine once said, and I think it's so funny, he once said to me, once you're divorced, once you're out of your 20s, the people that are still married, they are playing, or have been, especially when you just leave school. Everything's new, they're not really broken people out there, they haven't gone through all the relationships yet and all of that. And they are playing the relationship game on the A field. And unfortunately, once you hit your 30s and 40s, you are playing the B field, because these are broken people. These are people with children who have been divorced, or bachelors or bachelorettes that have never been married, and there's a really good reason why they have never found someone to attach to. The other thing I wanted to say is that having been in a relationship and it not working out, that is far better than being a bachelorette at 40 and having never married and having never had children and have never tried. Because it's only through relationships that we grow. I mean, you can say, I want to go and sit on an island in Zen and meditate and be alone for the rest of my life and really get to the core of who I am and, find nirvana. You can, but I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I suppose it is possible for certain people, but the only way that we grow is through relationships with other people. They teach us so much. They reflect so much back to us in ways where it doesn't even have to be a deep conversation with someone. You can just see how you interact with someone and watch as if you are the witness of yourself interacting with someone, and you'll go, wow, it's interesting that you did that, Lindy. That's interesting. Sorry. So, again, let's come back to this whole avoidant thing. This battling to be vulnerable with someone. It doesn't just have to be from childhood. It could also be from a really bad relationship that you have very early on in life, and it does scar you. I had a terrible heartbreak when I was in my early 20s, and it really, really was devastating for me. And then for some reason, after that relationship okay, I traveled, I didn't meet anyone, I wanted to be alone. So I had 5 years of being alone. But after that relationship, there were a few relationships that I just chose the wrong person. So many times I just chose people that abused me emotionally in some way. And I feel like if I had a healthy way of attaching to people or to somebody within a relationship, that I'd notice those signs and I'd say, hey, this is my boundary and that does not happen. Whereas I was the type of person, well, that can happen, just keep loving me, you know what I mean? I don't really, it's okay if you cheat on me, I just don't want you to disappear. I want you in my life, you know, or whatever. It's okay if you change me into someone I'm not, just don't leave me. So after this long journey, I found somebody, and him and I have been together for 7 years, and we have had a lot of ups and downs. He has had to stick around when I was running, like the runaway bride. I wasn't the runaway bride, but there were many times when I ran, and he gave me the space I needed. There were times where I disappointed him and I made him furious. And I really regret that. But at the same time, it helped him understand me and it helped me understand him. We worked out, you know, our boundaries and what is okay and what is not okay and what we need from each other, you know, to be the best of ourselves. And I think the reason why I love him as much as I do is because he's never left me, you know. He's never left me. We've been through so much. We've broken up many times. And yet, even when we were broken up, I could go to his house and we could sit on the front porch in the sun and just chat like friends. And if anything happened, if my car broke down or whatever, I knew I could call him. He's been consistently consistent. Day in and day out, he just never changes. Every time I see him, he is consistently loving me. He is consistently who he is. And that's helped me find me. I know that sounds weird, but when you have a way of really finding it hard to trust and love and give your heart to someone, if you have someone who never gives up, who is always trying to understand, and is consistently there even when you walk away and even if you break their heart, there is not one bone in his body that is weak. He is not a weak man. He is not someone who is just, oh, I love you, and no matter what you do to me, no matter how much you hurt me, I'm still going to be here. He's not that person, not at all. He will not take nonsense. But at the same time, he's not willing to give up. So when we reach a place in our relationship that almost feels sort of like the end, he allows me and I allow him, we take space to understand what's going on, and life just brings us back together. It's a really amazing thing, and I am so grateful for him for giving me the stability and also just believing in me. And also, every time I thought he would leave, every time I thought he'd say, that's enough, it's enough, I can't deal with you, it's enough now, you know, you too chaotic, you too creative, you too I don't know, I've had that a lot in relationships. You too loud, you too bombastic, you too friendly, you too, I mean, so many labels. which would just make me retreat back into my shell, and just try and reevaluate who I am and why someone I loved couldn't accept that. And I can honestly say that somehow within our relationship, we've both allowed each other to be who we are, bad days or good days. And there's this beautiful picture, I'll try and put it up on the screen, there's two sides of the slide. On the first slide there's a man sort of sick in bed, and he's got a plant on his head and it's all wilted and half dead, and his partner is there watering, and her plant is beautiful and blossoming, and she is watering his plant that is dead and tired. And then on the other side you see him, and his plant is beautiful and blossoming, and she's lying on the bed or on the couch, and her plant's all limp and tired, and he's watering her. And so I think we need relationships, not because we're afraid of being alone. I'm not afraid of being alone. I love my alone time. But we need somebody in our life at some point, obviously, to have when we die. It would be nice to have someone holding your hand. I mean, you've got kids. If you've had children, I've got children, so they could do that for me. But have that one person who's been a witness to your life, at the end of your life, sitting there with you, and letting you know it's going to be okay. But besides the ending of life, having someone within your life while you're living it that strengthens you, that is there for you on bad days, is there for you to talk to and just say, well, what do you think about this? I mean, am I crazy to feel this way? Or I just find within my relationship, we have very different personalities. He's more grounded and logical, and I'm more emotional and I would say almost esoteric. What are the gods going to bring forth today? And he'll be like, the sun just rose, the sun will rise and set, and things will happen as they do, kind of thing. So when I speak to him, then he'll give me the good hard facts, black and white. That's how it is. And then there are days where he will be able to chat to me and just have the softness that he needs in his life, because his day-to-day life is just so masculine. Just having that feminine energy, just to be able to say, you can rest now, be calm, no stress. Having that is I think special to him. And I will be honest, often I look at him and I think to myself, I know this sounds so weird, but I think, why do you love me? I'm so full of faults, and I just sometimes I find it unbelievable that there's this unconditional love from someone who is not your parent, who is not your child. They owe you nothing, and yet for some magical, beautiful reason, they love you. And I've looked back at so many times when he could have just said, that's enough, I've had enough. And he, I think you need to find somebody who has moral standards and is fully committed, where I think when you look at couples that have been married, for 40, 50, 60 years, the majority of their relationship has not been easy. It has not been, the fairy tale. Sorry. But there's staying power. And I know that I have never had staying power. I am someone who flits and fluffs from one place to another And I honestly never thought that I would settle down and just be happy. You know, I've always been this person, I need to have a different job every 3 or 4 years, or you know, I'm always moving from one hobby to the next. I don't know if it's my ADHD, I don't know if it's my creativity, I don't know if it's just my brain that got a bit, you know, I don't know if it's my childhood trauma, I don't know what it is, but my staying power is almost zero. And I have somebody in my life whose staying power is 200%. I don't know why that I have been blessed with somebody like that. But I can tell you now that if you have an attachment disorder or an anxious attachment or whatever it is when within relationships and all you want to do all the time is run, there is nothing more beautiful than when you run. And they don't chase you. They let you go. But when you look for them and you come back, they're still there. And they don't blame you. And they just have their arms open and just, I'm here still. I still love you. And it's okay. I understand. And you will find, well, I've found that my amount of times of running away have lessened. And now I don't run at all. I've found my home. I've found the place that makes me feel whole, you know. So I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. I don't know who else has been through this type of thing. But here's to you out there, hoping that you will find someone who never gives up on you.
We've been through something difficult. You know, this was a difficult thing to grow through. And we move forward confidently now, not because everything's been so easy and we're just like hoping things will continue to be easy and like hoping that like nothing hard will be thrown our way, but actually because we've been through things that weren't easy and we both still choose it. And we've got to see each other through an uneasy thing.